Welcome to TLC, ladies and gentlemen. I wasn't interested in TLC, but I decided I was going to watch it anyway to see if there was something there that I can latch onto that I could enjoy. If you cared about match quality, for maybe 60% of the show, match quality was good. If you're like me, who cares about how the wrestlers interact with each other, having feuds, having storylines, having character development, you're not going to be enjoying this show. You'll feel like this show is mostly shit. So in my case, I try to see it from quality of matches, what kind of personality the people still have, because many of them have almost no personality, and what was done at the end of the show. You guys know what happened, and if you saw my thumbnail, you know how I feel about that in a few minutes. Well, you will know. But let's get to the pre-show. And this is what I'm saying about how character development and seeing the personalities of the wrestlers. When you look at Team Bad is not New Day. I'm sorry. As much as the WWE thinks, well, we got 3 very entertaining black male wrestlers, let's throw a black female wrestler, a Samoan, Fijian, and Japanese wrestler, and a black female wrestler as well. Let them do the same thing. No, it doesn't work that way. Team Bad is completely different from New Day. Yes, they've interacted with one another, but Team Bad is a completely different animal. You got 3 women who can wrestle, who should be getting more airtime, and they're being made into a joke. Like Team New Day. New Day managed to take shit and turn it into gold and diamonds. They are that much over. But when it comes to Team Bad, they're worse off than New Day was. They're barely being seen, and the majority of the time, whatever the wrestlers actually go out, they job or they have to help each other to win. No one gets over. So this 12 Days of Christmas Diva thing was dumb. Tamina botched heavily. When it came to Naomi, she just didn't feel like herself. Yes, Naomi is a very sweet, loving, bubbly, fun person. There's no lie about that. Tamina's not much different. And when it comes to Sasha, she's just the boss. There's a reason why I call her the boss, because she just gives off an air in a sense of fun and dominance, in a sense. Not more than my Naomi, but you know what I feel. But the thing is that they were way outside the comfort zone and outside their characters. These are tough women. Yeah, they play around a bit, but these are tough freaking women. Why are they doing the 12 Days of Christmas, which is really making them look terrible? And the crowd reflected that. They were booing them. They didn't want to see this. It made it worse when the match happened. And once again, Sasha Banks wins, but the crowd hated it. They have taken a woman who is Snoop Dogg's legitimate cousin, who already had a lot of pop behind her when she was NXT, and now has turned her to shit. The crowd doesn't even want to praise her now, even though she's from freaking Boston like John Cena. Well, John is from Newbury, Massachusetts, but that's Boston, Massachusetts. They're from Massachusetts. And most of the crowd didn't even care about Sasha. They were booing it. And that's terrible. The WWE has destroyed something good. For what? And I'm moving on to the match between Paige and Charlotte as the first thing from TLC. I don't want to wait. This match was dumb. For the simple reason that there wasn't hardly anything there. Mind you, it's wise for the WWE to let Ric Flair work with his daughter, because Charlotte by herself just does not have the strength to do anything. But here's the problem. I wanted to see Rick. Charlotte's not a bad looking woman, even though she has no hips. She's straight. She's not a bad looking woman. She's a pretty good wrestler. She's more superior than Brie and Nikki Bella. That's the truth. But they've given her no character development whatsoever. Her dad is her development. And that's what I feel is the loss here. Because when it came to Rick dealing with Paige at the pre-show, which wasn't a bad banter between them. I mean, it wasn't great, but it wasn't bad either. When it came down to it, this felt more about Ric Flair helping his daughter than his daughter having Ric Flair, having her dad by her side, helping, well, kind of helping her, but it felt like Ric Flair altogether. And it really didn't help Charlotte. Charlotte has been developed badly. She went from a face and did an immediate heel turn, which made it worse. If it had been progressive, instead of maybe one episode of Raw, maybe it wouldn't be such of a problem. This isn't more than like a month's build for her to turn to a heel. This has been maybe a week, if you're lucky, 2. So it just made no sense to see Paige as the good guy here when she never was the good guy. That's why this match was crap, even though Charlotte won. Another match that sucked. Ryback versus Rusev. This, ladies and gentlemen, if anyone loves Lana, no matter if you're a man or a woman, you felt that, well, this is what my perspective is. You can tell me below how you felt about Lana. And what you felt was the strongest thing about her that you loved, that you wanted to cheer for her or boo her, was that Lana was a woman of steel and ice. She was cold, calculating. When she told Rusev, she said, "Rusev, crush!" That was something we enjoyed because she was rigid like the Russian Federation. Russia, or the Soviet Federation. I'm not calling it the Soviet Federation, even though it is now called Russia again. But essentially speaking, she reflected the country. It was stern, straightforward, made of steel. You can like it or not, but her character was something that won us over. It wasn't that she didn't have enough, she had too much emotion. She had very minimal emotion that when she showed it, we loved it. Next to her incredibly tight clothes, making her incredibly sexy, next to her being a very rigid and controlling character of Rusev and herself, we just felt that they meshed together so well. But now you have Lana as an American, which we know she is mainly American, even though she does have creation history in her blood. Kissing him all the time is throwing off the entire character. She's not like that. Yeah, they tried to build her as a face, as a more open and more feeling person. But you're trying to use that open feeling person as a heel. It doesn't work. She should have went back to the way she was, or they should have had her stay as a face. And turn Rusev face, even though that's actually kind of stupid. Seeing this match and Rusev winning the way he did made no freaking sense, and it buried Ryback. And it buried Rusev, and worse yet, the person that this is really meant to get over got buried along with it, and that is Lana. Okay, here's a match that surprisingly felt empty. The Wyatts versus Team Extreme. The 8-man elimination tag. Ladies and gentlemen, I did see a little bit of ECW years ago while I was working. I did see Tommy Dreamer. I did see Taz. I did see Paul Heyman a little bit. Very rarely did I have a time to actually do that because I'm working my ass off. I saw WCW, saw a little bit ECW, saw a little bit WWF before it turned E. And I felt ECW was really different. But here, there was nothing there. You had Bray Wyatt, who has been buried numerous times over and over and over again, dealing with the Dudleys, who have not been buried when they first came in, but now have been buried, and then you bring in Tommy Dreamer, and then you bring in Rhino for a squash match to try and get the Wyatts over for the last couple of weeks, and the reason it didn't work was because the Wyatts had numerous matches with Team Extreme. And that's the reason why it failed. It wasn't that the storyline wasn't that good. If they're trying to make a name for themselves, it actually would be very compelling. The only thing that Bray Wyatt had to say was, "You are the past, I am the future, you're lying to yourself," not that you are false. That would have made it work very well for me personally. But the problem for me was that you're doing this. You're letting Team Extreme talk. You're letting the Wyatts talk, even if it isn't that great. But you're constantly having them touch. And that's the reason why it failed. And this match just reflected it. Was it a good good elimination match? It wasn't bad. But even though it was somewhat one-sided for the Wyatts winning, it didn't really feel like they won anything. Braun Strowman may have been dominant, but it felt empty. Because they touched so much. I've already seen it. And that was the problem for me personally when it came to Wyatt's the Team Extreme. They've already touched so many times. I've seen it enough. I didn't really care. So let's drop that and go directly to the IC title. Dean versus Kevin Owens. I'll give it to you this. I'm glad Dean won the title. Now it's off of Kevin Owens. But do I believe that Kevin Owens is going to try and cash in tonight? Yes. And this is where I feel it's going to be stupid. If I'm wrong, fine. You can watch Raw tonight like I'm going to be watching to see if Kevin Owens is going to try and say, I want my rematch right now. If he does that, instead of trying to do something for the next couple of weeks going into Royal Rumble, I ain't give a damn. This is supposed to be Dean Ambrose's moment to win a title. Now, I'm not saying the match was great. It was good. It felt average, to be honest. It felt like a Raw match. But the point is, he still won it. But if he has to face Kevin Owens tonight, because this is being done on a Monday, it will be beyond dumb. Because I just feel like Kevin Owens should be utilized better. And if they're just throwing him in such short-term storylines, not even short-term storylines, short-term arcs of feuds, what is the point of Kevin Owens coming there? You know what? I would have rather seen Kevin Steen go to TNA than Kevin Owens go to WWE. Mind you, I'm happy that Kevin Steen is actually getting money. He would never get that much money if he was in ROH or TNA. I'm being honest here. But right now, I'd rather see him in TNA. At least then it'll be something different. That's if they would even use him properly. Now, the match that actually felt that was okay, but one issue was ADR versus Jack Swagger. The issue for me is that because ADR got rid of Zed Coulter early was dumb. For the simple reason is this. You're trying to promote Mex America. I understand that. You couldn't have waited to do the League of Nations after TLC. Or at least, if the League of Nations would not mess up Mex America. I would have liked it this respect. I know ADR had to go over because he's part of the League of Nations. Excuse me. I understand that. But the point of the matter is that he could have dropped Zed Coulter during the match. Because this makes no sense that Zed would tweet out, we, the people, are better than Mex America. Viva of Del Rio, whatever. Excuse me. Sore throat. But the point is, that would have made better storyline sense for Jack Swagger. Because at this moment in time, it made no sense for him to be by himself. And I'm talking about Del Rio. Del Rio should have came down with either the League of Nations member or Zed Coulter. This match wasn't a bad match, actually. It was actually a pretty good match. Jack did represent himself pretty damn well. And I'm not a Jack Swagger fan. But I will say the storyline hadn't been that bad. It wasn't great. And I told you before, ladies and gentlemen, this is a stretch saying this is a storyline. This is the only one I've seen that has been built well enough to make sense. This is a stretch. But Jack did represent himself decently well. And the match wasn't bad either. Of course, Jack had to lose. But it would have been better if Zed had been there. That Del Rio says, you know what? I don't need you, Zed Coulter. Go with your Jack Swagger. Mex America is over. Throws the mic down, grabs his belt, and screams out, League of Nations! That would have made more sense storyline-wise for the League of Nations and storyline-wise for Jack Swagger because he could still go after Del Rio representing Mexico as he is now. It would have made better sense. Now, the triple threat tag team ladder match I felt was the best match of the night. You know why? Because New Day made it that good. That was the only thing I cared about. The opening was with New Day. Xavier Woods made the commentation way more palatable. Hell, he corrected the King and definitely numerous times had to correct Michael Cole for botching his freaking lines and botching the ring work in the match. He couldn't even tell who Sin Cara was compared to Kalisto. He couldn't even tell the difference between the Usos, and Xavier Woods could. This is the reason why I made a video I think over a year ago, saying that Michael Cole needs to go on vacation or retire. I think he mainly needs to retire because Michael Cole's botching so badly. I mean, everyone botches from time to time, but Michael botches the worst, and he is the head commentator. Either put the King on commentation as the head, or put JBL, or better yet, Xavier Woods, because he did a better job than Michael Cole did. But New Day won. I kind of felt that we needed to see an Uso heel turn here. Because when they stood up against Lucha Dragons, looking at each other, not really wanting to attack each other, the Usos really need to turn heel right now. Because even though they're still very popular as faces, I kind of feel like they need to turn heel. It's just my personal preference. But now the last match of the night, which took Triple H to try and save it. And the only thing Triple H saved was Roman Reigns getting over. And I think that's what it comes down to. Triple H rescued Roman. I think I might use as my title. When it came to the match, it wasn't great. But it wasn't bad either. I'm stating this obviously. I've seen enough TLC matches to say they were average. Or maybe just above average. The thing that got me was after the match was over, when it came to League of Nations, where was freaking Bad News Barrett? There was only Rusev and there was only Del Rio. What happened to Barrett? He's not part of it anymore? But those two come down, they mess with Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns acted beastly and he managed to beat them up, but he still didn't win. And it was Sheamus who kept the title. And what did Roman do? He proceeded to kick the ass of the League of Nations, all three of them. He kicked... The problem I see here is that they're still trying to make him an underdog when he's not an underdog. And seeing him destroy a Triple H did get him over with the Boston crowd. It did. Well, other than when they were screaming for bring out Cena and Cena sucks or whatever. What did they say? Where is Cena? Cena sucks. I think that's what they said. But the point of the matter is this. They did get Roman over. Triple H's plan or Vince's plan or even Stephanie's plan to try and get Roman over by destroying Triple H worked. The crowd did cheer for him there, and that can change fans' attitudes over. Saying thank you Roman could change the fans at home's attitude. So when the next Raw comes out and then the next pay-per-view, which is Royal Rumble, comes out, the crowd may actually cheer more for him because he destroyed Triple H. The Authority, and as the Slag Daddy says, God himself. But was this a good show? No. And it took Triple H at the very end to try and get Roman Reigns over because that's what they're trying to do. And did he fully get over? I say he got partially over. But this is just my point of view. How about you? And I hope you enjoyed the Zane view. Please give me a comment below. You will be seeing my first Booking the Wrestler episode in about 2 or 3 days. I say I may release it Tuesday or Wednesday. And it actually is going to be on Sheamus, ladies and gentlemen. My first episode will be on Sheamus since he is currently the WWE World Heavyweight Champion. I just hope you like it. I'm kind of psyched that I'm actually doing this. You guys have a good day and have a good night. Peace!